Queen Camilla thought the past was finally behind her, until Prince William walked into Balmoral with Diana's final request. What he revealed sent shockwaves through the royal family. The words weren't just touching, they were devastating. Protect the crown, but protect your wife even more. Those were Diana's last instructions to her son, and they hit Camilla like a thunderbolt. In that moment, the crown she had fought so hard to wear began to feel impossibly heavy. Behind palace walls, Camilla broke down in tears, realizing the ghost of Diana hadn't faded. She had just been waiting to speak again. Diana's voice returns and shakes the throne. It was supposed to be a quiet weekend at Balmoral. But behind closed doors, something unforgettable happened. Prince William sat down with his father, King Charles, for a tense private meeting. What he shared changed everything. A message, one he had held on to for years. His mother's final request. Protect the crown, but protect your wife even more, Diana had told him. The room fell completely silent. William's words hit like a thunderclap. Queen Camilla froze. For a second, she wasn't the monarch's consort. She was the woman who had once been in Diana's shadow, and now the shadow had returned. It was the first time Diana's voice had openly challenged Camilla's place, not through gossip, not through press whispers, but through her son, in her own words. For Camilla, this wasn't just a memory. It was a ghost, one that came back to life and looked her dead in the eyes. Sources say Camilla excused herself from the room. Moments later, she broke down in tears. She had spent decades working to legitimize her title. But now, it felt as though Diana's spirit was still the real Queen of Hearts. Behind palace walls, Camilla reportedly asked Charles through tears, "Will I ever escape her shadow?" And the truth? Even Charles had no answer. William wasn't done. He revealed a bold new plan, the Royal Restructuring Act. His goal? Restore public trust in the monarchy. But that trust couldn't exist, he argued, while Camilla's presence kept reopening old wounds. The plan proposed cutting Camilla's public role, reducing her appearances, and, most controversially, cutting royal funding to her son. William wasn't trying to cause chaos, but he was drawing a line. This is about survival. The people have lost faith. At the heart of it all was Diana's advice, her voice, her love, and her warning to protect Catherine. Because this wasn't just a family matter anymore, it was a battle between the past and the future. As whispers swirled through palace halls, one thing became clear. Diana's message had returned, and it was rewriting everything. Camilla's crown starts to crumble. Camilla tried to keep calm, but inside she was falling apart. Behind closed doors, she feared something bigger than gossip or headlines. She feared being erased. And Diana's words had just started that process. Not long after William's meeting with King Charles, a secret recording surfaced. Camilla's aide, Margaret Voss, had worn a hidden mic and captured everything. Camilla now had the proof. William was behind a plan to cut her power, freeze out her son, and sideline her role permanently. Her reaction, cold, calculated, dangerous. "If he wants a war, I'll give him one," Camilla reportedly told Voss. She ordered a media hit, a whisper campaign about Catherine's health, designed to spark fear and doubt in the public. Another target? The Middletons' finances. Camilla hoped to paint them as secret profiteers, but this wasn't the same Catherine from years ago. While Camilla worked from the shadows, Catherine stepped into the spotlight. She appeared at a major event, radiant, poised, and unstoppable. Her short-cropped hair, her soft smile, and that undeniable grace sent a powerful message. She was back, and stronger than ever. The crowd roared. Social media exploded. Catherine Strong trended across the world. Camilla watched from behind the scenes. Every move she made was now being outshined by the woman Diana had trusted. The public's sympathy swung hard. Camilla's plan was falling apart. And then came the final blow. Catherine walked into a private room with William, holding an old item no one had seen in decades. A cassette tape. Diana's voice filled the room once again. It was meant for the woman who stands by William. On the tape, Diana warned about jealousy, manipulation, and the need to protect the light of the monarchy before it's consumed by shadows. Catherine and William decided to make the recording public. When it aired, the impact was instant. Headlines screamed, tears flowed. She saw this coming. She tried to warn us. The nation froze. And Camilla? She knew it was over. The empire collapses, and Diana's legacy rises. Camilla's plan backfired. Hard. The press turned on her. The public was furious. Diana's voice had become the rallying cry of a new royal generation. Every whisper Camilla had planted, exposed. William's media team intercepted the leaks about Catherine's health. Investigators found no wrongdoing in the Middleton finances. The smear campaign collapsed in full view. Camilla canceled public appearances, claiming she needed rest. But inside palace circles, everyone knew she had lost. Even her closest allies began distancing themselves. Meanwhile, Harry faced his own reckoning. He had unknowingly helped Camilla by leaking private Diana emails, thinking it was for truth. But Catherine wasn't angry. She was ready. She met Harry in Diana's old library, placing the cassette in his hand. "You're being used, Harry," just like Mum feared. Harry listened to the tape alone. Witnesses say he broke down in tears. Soon after, he appeared in a televised Oprah interview, choking up as he apologized for the pain he caused. Back in the palace, the final vote passed. The Royal Restructuring Act became law. From now on, only 5 senior royals would be publicly funded. Camilla was not one of them. William now held the reins. The monarchy was in his hands. "You've saved the monarchy," Charles told him, "but you may lose your family." William didn't flinch. "We had to do this. For the future," he told Catherine. And the future had a new foundation. A mother's love, a wife's strength, a legacy that could no longer be silenced. Camilla stepped back, her crown dimmed. Diana's light had returned, not just as memory, but as the force that reshaped a royal world. And at the heart of it all stood Catherine, the queen Diana always hoped her son would find. Camilla's inner circle turns ruthless. The palace may have looked calm on the outside, but inside, Camilla was seething. She had heard everything. William's plan to cut her role, freeze out her son, and reshape the monarchy? It wasn't a rumor anymore. A hidden mic, worn by her longtime aide Margaret Voss, had caught the entire conversation. It was Camilla's secret weapon. With trembling hands, she listened to the recording again and again. Her heart pounded, but not from fear, from fury. "He's using her memory to erase me," Camilla reportedly said. "I won't go quietly." That's when the plotting began. She didn't care about the backlash anymore. She didn't care about sympathy. Camilla wanted control and revenge. Her orders were swift. Leak health concerns about Catherine to the press. Plant whispers that she was too frail, too distant, too lost in private battles to lead the monarchy. Then came the second strike. Target the Middletons. Camilla's team dug into old business deals, hoping to paint Catherine's family as cashing in on royal ties. Behind closed doors, Camilla made a chilling vow. "I will tear down William's foundation before he buries me." But what Camilla didn't expect was just how strong Catherine had become. While her enemies stirred the storm, Catherine stayed silent, focused. And when she stepped back into the spotlight, she did it with elegance and defiance. What Camilla saw next would shatter everything she thought she knew. Catherine's unstoppable return. The event was never meant to grab headlines. It was just a quiet charity appearance, low-key, no fanfare. But when Catherine walked through those doors, something shifted. It became history. She wasn't flanked by staff or hidden behind bodyguards. She walked in alone, wearing a fitted navy dress that whispered power rather than screamed it. Her hair, now shorter, framed her face like a crown, and her eyes, clear, focused, spoke louder than any speech. Her steps were steady. Her smile was real, and her presence unshakable. When she looked into the cameras, the world felt the message without her needing to say a word. But she said it anyway. "I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere." Within seconds, photos of Catherine flooded social media. And it wasn't about the dress. It wasn't about appearances. It was about her strength, her survival, her return. Social media lit up like wildfire. Catherine. Strong. A hashtag, a rally cry, a message from the people. We see you. We believe in you. We're with you. In Clarence's house, Camilla stared at the screen in disbelief. The panic was setting in. Her smear campaign, the whispers about Catherine's health, the attacks on the Middletons, were crumbling in real time. None of it stuck. None of it mattered. The world wasn't doubting Catherine. It was rallying behind her. Inside the palace, even longtime staff could feel the temperature change. There were hushed conversations in the corridors, glances exchanged in meeting rooms. It was clear. Catherine's return had turned the tide. And Charles? He wasn't saying much, but his actions were loud enough. Meetings were suddenly being scheduled with William, not Camilla. Internal planning shifted. Resources were reallocated. The power structure was quietly being rewritten. Camilla knew it. She could feel it. The slipping, the silence, the slow freeze-out. Catherine had done what no headline or advisor could. She earned the people's loyalty with dignity, not drama. And just when it seemed like things might settle, that Catherine's rise would be the end of the story, something else surfaced. A worn box, lightly taped, hidden in a forgotten drawer among Diana's old belongings. Inside, a cassette. No label, no warning, just history waiting to speak. What it held inside would not just validate Catherine's journey, it would change the course of the monarchy itself. And for Camilla, it meant the past she feared most wasn't buried. It was about to speak again, louder than ever. Diana's tape becomes the game changer. It had been hidden for decades. A cassette, softly labeled, almost forgotten. Diana's voice recorded in her own words. It was never meant for the world, just for one woman. "To the one who stands by William," the label read. Catherine played the tape alone at first. Her hands shook, but when Diana's voice filled the room, it was like hearing a whisper from the past. A mother speaking across time. "They will try to twist the truth. They will come after your kindness. You must protect the light." There was no doubt who Diana meant, and there was no doubt what Catherine had to do. She brought the tape to William, and together they made the boldest decision of their lives. Make it public. Let the world hear what Diana feared and what she fought for. When the tape aired, the nation stood still. People cried. Some gasped, and many, for the first time, understood the battle William had been fighting. Diana hadn't just predicted this moment, she had prepared for it. Camilla, still reeling from Catherine's return, now faced the one thing she could never silence: Diana's truth. Her plans unraveled almost instantly. The tabloids backed off. Former allies went silent. Even her own aides began resigning quietly, distancing themselves from what they now saw as a doomed legacy. And the people? They didn't just listen to Diana's voice. They chose her vision. Camilla's empire begins to crack. The tape was only a few minutes long, but it detonated like a bomb inside the palace. Camilla's world, already fragile, began to shatter piece by piece. The planned leaks about Catherine's health stopped cold. William's media team had intercepted them, traced their source, and quietly shut them down. Camilla's next move, a financial smear campaign against the Middletons, collapsed days later. An independent audit cleared them completely. What was meant to stir scandal now made Camilla look desperate. Behind palace doors, things got worse. Charles grew distant. Staff began switching loyalties. Royal planners started removing Camilla's name from future engagements without explanation. She tried to put on a brave face, but the cameras were gone. The invitations stopped arriving. Even her most trusted aides had gone silent. "I need time to rest," she told the press, canceling her public appearances. But everyone knew the truth. This was no rest. This was retreat. Diana's voice had turned into something more than memory. It was now a reckoning. Across Britain, a single phrase echoed louder than ever. She warned us. And for Camilla, there was no path back, no sympathy left to claim. The woman she once feared had returned and brought the whole empire down with her. Harry realizes the truth too late. As the chaos unfolded, another royal stood quietly in the shadows. Prince Harry. Far from the headlines and handshakes, he had become a silent player in a dangerous game. For months, he'd been passing sensitive information to palace insiders, thinking he was doing the right thing. He believed he was protecting the crown, clearing the path for healing, but healing never came. What Harry didn't realize was that Camilla was behind it all. She had carefully fed him promises, told him he was making amends, that by leaking certain emails and private messages from Diana's archives, he was helping restore balance between the royal households. But in truth, he was being used. The messages were twisted. Diana's words were spun into weapons, turned against William, warped to question his leadership, his stability, even his loyalty. And then came the moment everything changed. Catherine called him. No fury, no judgment. Just a quiet voice asking him to meet. They stood inside Diana's old library at Kensington Palace, surrounded by the very books and photos that once shaped their childhood. The air felt heavy, like history was watching. Catherine didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse. She simply handed him a cassette. The same tape Diana had recorded for The Woman Who Stands by William. "You're being used, Harry," she said, almost in a whisper. "Mom saw it coming, and she tried to protect us both." Harry didn't say a word. He took the tape, tucked it into his jacket, and left. That night, he listened alone in his California home, and what he heard broke him. "Protect your brother," Diana's voice echoed through the static. "He carries more than a crown. He carries a wound." She wasn't just talking about royal duty. She was talking about the pain, the loss, the betrayal, the grief they had both endured. But William had carried it in silence, for all the world to see. Tears streamed down Harry's face. For the first time in years, he saw it all clearly. The next morning, there were no headlines, no stage. Harry simply boarded a flight and met with William. No photographers, no PR team, just two brothers, face to face. They spoke for hours. Days later, Harry appeared in an emotional interview with Oprah, this time not to attack, but to apologize. "Mom loved both of us. I forgot that for a while," he said, voice breaking. It was raw, honest, human. It came too late to undo the past, but it came just in time to begin the healing. And this time, the world listened and forgave. William's reform wins, but at a cost. The Royal Restructuring Act was ready, and Prince William wasn't backing down. He had waited long enough, watched too long. Now he was stepping forward, not as the heir, but as the man who would redefine the monarchy forever. His vision was sharp, unapologetic. A royal family with fewer faces, tighter control, and a foundation the people could believe in again. The public had made their choice, loud and clear. They stood with Diana's memory, with Catherine's strength, and most of all, with him. The final draft of the act was unlike anything the firm had seen in decades. Only 5 senior royals would remain publicly funded. The excess, the fringe, the outdated support systems, gone. Camilla's household, cut off completely. No more staff, no more taxpayer-funded residences, no more quiet influence behind palace doors. William moved fast. Royal media operations were dissolved overnight and rebuilt from scratch with a new, loyal communications team, handpicked by William himself. No leaks, no spin, just truth. Prince Harry's projects were paused, not out of punishment, but necessity. Trust had been broken. Even the beloved Invictus Games were quietly handed over to Mike Tyndall's independent foundation, separating them from royal branding. And through it all, King Charles watched in silence. When the final papers crossed his desk, Charles paused. He looked at his son, not as a sovereign, but as a father who had already lost too much. "You've saved the monarchy," he told William, voice low, "but you may lose what little family you have left." William didn't blink. He had already lost his mother to inaction. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. He would protect his wife, his children, and the crown's future, even if it cost him everything else. "This isn't about power," he told Catherine late that night. "It's about truth. It's about survival." And Catherine, she didn't flinch. She looked at him and simply nodded. The vote passed. The act became law. The monarchy changed that day, not in theory, but in blood. Camilla's royal power vanished. Her voice silenced. No press conference, no official statement, no tearful goodbye. She simply disappeared into the background, holding the title. But none of the throne's weight, no longer feared, no longer followed. And Diana? She wasn't just a memory anymore. She had become the compass of the crown, guiding her son, guarding the truth, and rewriting the very future she once feared would destroy them all. The monarchy, transformed by a mother's love. The winds had shifted. The war was over. But the monarchy? It would never be the same again. Diana's final message, once a whisper in her son's memory, was now the foundation of a new royal age. She had warned of betrayal. She had begged for love to come first. And now, her words had shaped a future she never got to see. Camilla, once crowned queen consort, was now rarely seen. Her name faded from press releases. Her influence vanished. Even Charles, weary and aging, spent more time at his countryside retreat. And Catherine? She became the symbol of everything Diana hoped for. A wife protected, a mother respected, a future queen the people had already claimed with their hearts. She walks with Diana's grace, one royal insider said, but she fights with her fire. William continued to lead with quiet strength. He didn't seek revenge. He simply rebuilt, with integrity, loyalty, and a fierce devotion to his family. Harry, now back in quiet contact with his brother, began to rebuild too. Not for the cameras, not for the palace, but for their mother. Because in the end, it was always about her. Diana hadn't lived to see this victory, but her legacy had won. Not with a crown, not with power, but with love and the unshakable truth that she never stopped protecting her boys. And as the public watched Catherine rise, they knew the Queen of Hearts had never really left. She had simply passed the torch. Diana's voice shattered the silence, and Camilla's power began to slip. William stood tall. Catherine rose stronger. And the monarchy forever changed. Camilla tried to silence the past, but the past spoke louder. And this time, Diana's words didn't just echo, they redefined the future. The battle was personal, and it was over.